Okay, Iraq. A quick history of Iraq. From what I remember, it was created essentially by Winston Churchill and others that were drawing the lines of the Middle East after World War II. And
part of the Ottoman Empire before, right?
yeah, and it was Babylon, and it was part of the Persian Empire at one time. I think the Byzantine Empire maybe at one time, but that's all in the past. I'm just talking about recent history.
World War I, wasn't it? When they...
I think World War I was Ottoman. World War II.
Yeah. Okay.
Shut up! Okay, so anyways, we have Iraq that has been created, and it's kind of a hodgepodge of the Kurds and Sunnis and the Shias. And there's a quote that Winston Churchill said he wished he had made a Kurdistan. I think that's what he said.
Yes.
Because the Kurds really have nothing to do with the Sunnis and the Shias. I mean, they're ethnically closer to Europeans than Middle Easterners. Okay, and during the 80s, I believe it was, we financed a war with Iraq and Iran. We said, this would be a good idea if you attacked Iran, because we were kind of in the mindset of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and if I can get the enemy of my enemy to attack my enemy and make my enemy think I'm his friend while attacking my enemy, even though they're both my enemies, it'll be good.
Thus, the picture of Rumsfeld with
so
Saddam.
you can see our U.S. foreign policy has not just been screwed up in the past couple of years. It's been screwed up for the past 50 years, at least, if not longer, because we kind of like to go around and basically use hegemony, if I'm even saying that right, to control other nations. Hegemony, whatever. Hegemony.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we basically gave weapons for Iran to use to fight Iraq, and it was an 8-year war, and it was horrible. And later on, Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait, and one of the reasons that I remember reading about and learning about was Kuwait was supposedly drilling slanted oil wells. Kuwait's here, Iraq is here, and so Kuwait would drill the oil wells instead of straight down. They would drill this way underneath Iraq, and so that was one of the reasons that they were able to say, "Oh, we have to go after Kuwait because they're stealing our oil."
Yeah, they couldn't stop, the drill.
Yeah,
they couldn't do anything like
because
that.
If you're drilling 5 miles down below, you can't do that. Right. And so he invaded Kuwait, and we're like, oh. And so the whole United Nations got together, and we go and attack Iraq. We have Iraq War #1, and the Gulf War 1. The reason we didn't go all the way to Baghdad the first time and take out Saddam Hussein and the country is because the UN said we're not going past the 38th parallel or whatever latitude,
Yes.
Whatever line it was, that I think is 38 degrees or something. I don't remember the exact number. And so we pushed them out of Kuwait all the way up there we were done. That was it. It was pretty quick and pretty simple.
And if you remember at the time, many Americans did want us to go all the way in and take down Saddam.
Did or did not?
They did. They actually wanted. At the time, it was a very popular belief. But you had Don Rumsfeld and a bunch of the people in the new administration who were saying, actually, that would be a bad idea. And they said, if we went in there, there would be this really big mess. And essentially, we'd have a quagmire. And we'd have sectarian violence. And we would have a situation that's out of control. And Rumsfeld...
Oh, he did not say that. You're making...
Oh, wait a second.
I'm kidding. He's...
No, I know you are. But the reality is that they said that back then. Even though the popular belief at the time was, let's go in and finish the job. But they said, no, let's not. Which, in retrospect, was the wise decision. Then you have today, where we have... I believed it. Most of you probably believed it.
No, hold on. Okay, a couple of things.
Okay.
Even before 9/11 happened, there were movements in the Bush and the administration to go after Saddam Hussein and take him out. So it wasn't. And after September 11th, the new policy, foreign policy, well, not new because we've kind of been doing this all along, but it became really public and out and in your face. The new foreign policy was, we're going to attack you before you attack us. If we think you're going to attack us, we're going to attack you first, which has
gone against the United States theory over 200 years.
That's not what a good nation is supposed to do, in my opinion. You don't go to a playground school playground and look at all the kids and think, I think that kid's going to beat me up, so I'm going to go beat him up first. You don't. I mean, I guess you do that on the playground now that I think about it.
But to be fair to America, though, we thought that that Iraq was a threat to us. That they had relations with Al Qaeda, which had just attacked us, and that they were making nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. So to us, they had already hit us once. And it wasn't that we were going on offense. We were going on defense and stopping another attack from killing thousands more Americans.
That was the theory. And
to be fair, that's what we thought. That's what I believed at the time. I mean, I'm sure
we didn't have enough. Well, here, people like us, we didn't have any information at all except for what they were telling us on TV.
And for you Republicans out there, you had respectable leaders like John McCain and Colin Powell at the time saying, "Oh, this is a legitimate reason." And then you had on the Democratic side, the
leader of France didn't want us to do it, and the leader of Russia didn't want us to do it. Now, here's the funny thing: after we invaded, we found that those leaders of France and the leaders of Russia were making a killing on the oil for food program by getting backroom deals and money from the Iraq regime.
Right, and so that made us feel better about it.
The only reason they didn't want us to go in there was money. They didn't care about the citizens or the danger or threats, real or unreal. They just wanted. They're like, no, don't go in there because he doesn't have the weapons. But really, they didn't even care if they had weapons or not. They wanted the money.
And if you remember, right after we invaded, that was like that a lot of that information came out, and that's why a lot of Americans felt good about the decision before we had all the sectarian violence.
Now, let me ask you a question, because they talked about that all the weapons and everything were shipped off to Syria really quickly.
Well, I mean, that's a theory that they sold.
I haven't heard anything about that since then.
No, they needed to justify what happened, why they didn't find them. Now you can listen to Hillary Clinton, who said if I would do it over again, of course it would be a different decision. She still hasn't apologized. But you had Democrats who believed it. You had people. You had Biden at the time, who was one of the most experienced Democratic foreign policy wonks there was in the Senate, and he was for it. You had Hillary Clinton, who also was married to Bill, who has now denied he was for the war, but she obviously was, and so you had those two Democrats and two Republicans for it.
You had Kerry, who was for the war before he was against the war.
Right. I mean, but
so right now the war's billed as the Republicans, the Bush administration screwed up, and the Democrats no, this wasn't our idea. We're not doing it. And the Republicans they're kind of stuck because they're like, no, it was a bad idea. And then, but we're Republicans, and so Bush is our guy, and they're kind of stuck. I mean, I think Ron Paul and
Kucinich and Paul were the only ones in national office who were against it. You had Barack Obama, who was against it.
Well, he was,
but he was in the state Senate in Illinois at the time.
And national. So you have the Kucinich and Paul were the only two people who said no, this isn't right. And the funny thing is, I think they were just going on the grounds that it wasn't constitutional for some reason. It wasn't that they didn't agree with the data. I don't think that they were saying we're not going to do it because we think the data is wrong. I think they were saying we're not going to do it because this isn't the right way to go to war. You're supposed to do this, and this first. And so, even though they didn't vote against it, I think it wasn't because they didn't think that he was a threat.
I think that's true. I think everybody at the time thought he was a threat. I mean, we all obviously know it's not true. I think we'll discuss more of this in a later video for you guys.